Love bombing, affection today, but then abuse tomorrow. Let's talk about this topic right here on Keeping It in Context. So what is love bombing? Love bombing is a pattern of behavior that shows overly aggressive attention and interest in someone, whether from another person or group, in order to gain access into that person's life. Love bombing can happen intentionally or unintentionally, and it occurs in romantic relationships, among family members, religious groups, and cults. Although the act of love bombing has already been around throughout the centuries, the first people to use the term love bombing were members of the Unification Church of the United States, sometimes known as the Moonies. In the 1970s, their founder and leader, Sun Myung Moon, stated that Unification Church members are smiling all of the time, even at 4 in the morning. The man who is full of love must live that way. When you go out witnessing, you can caress the wall and say that it can expect you to witness well and be smiling when you return. What face could better represent love than a smiling face? This is why we talk about love bomb. Moonies have that kind of happy problem. Cult leaders such as Jim Jones, Charles Manson, and David Koresh weaponized the act of love bombing by using it to deceive their members into committing mass suicide and murder. Love bombing is effective, and it is effective because it is often seen in the beginning as positive expressions of love, but as time progresses, ends up becoming a tactic for abuse. Not only that, but because love is a human necessity, those who understand this will use that knowledge to manipulate and to gain control of those who are in search of it. What are some examples of love bombing? Well, love bombing can be demonstrated in many different ways, but the ones that are usually seen the most are ones such as, but not limited to, an immediate transformation of someone or a group to be who they think you want them to be upon connection, an excessive amount of unnecessary or unwanted gifts from someone or a group, excessive use of physical touch by them, excessive flattery or praise from them, an overcommunication of their feelings, early and intense conversations about one's future with you in a rush to lock things down, a person or a group always making themselves readily available to you to talk, meet, and spend time together, endless phone calling and uninvited visits, becoming instantly possessive, and a frequency of saying I love you even with no real relationship or knowledge of who you are. These few examples shows that love bombing is not really something that should be taken lightly and should be addressed, as it can lead to an unhealthy environment as well as some unhealthy consequences. Now, just to give a clearer understanding of how dangerous love bombing is, let's look over the 3 stages of love bombing and the impact it has on one's life. The first stage of love bombing is idealization. This is basically the start of love bombing, where you receive an excessive amount of attention and affection from someone or a group with the goal of drawing you in and convincing you that the relationship you have with them is real. This is where the excessive compliments and gifts and constant attempts to communicate and spend time together takes place. The second stage is called devaluation. Once the initial love bombing phase is over and they see that a certain level of commitment to them has been reached, the expressions of love will either stop or be rarely given, and will be replaced with criticism, fault finding, and or neglect. They will try to exert more control over you due to your level of commitment, and may use fear or intimidation to get you to behave in a manner that they want you to behave. Within religious groups and cults, after the love bombing process is done and you've made a commitment to them, you typically become another member that has been added to their fold, whose value now depends on your loyalty and the amount of work that you're able to perform for them. This stage also allows for gaslighting to take place, as the love bombers will cause you to think that their behavior from the very beginning has never changed, and that the real issue at hand is not with them, but with you. It is because of how much love you lack, or how much more loyalty to the relationship or to the group is required from you, which as a result will leave you confused, embarrassed, and at times exhausted. And then stage 3 is discarding. Once the person or the group is no longer getting what they need out of the relationship, they will either ignore you completely or disregard you in favor of someone else. If you confront them about their harmful behaviors or try to reset healthy boundaries for yourself with them, they will refuse to cooperate with you and will either abandon you or do and say things to make you leave instead. Now, in many instances, if you reach a place where you're ready to leave the relationship or the group, Instead of disconnecting from you altogether, love bombers would try to maintain contact with you and even try to offer an apology in order to suck you back in again like a vacuum cleaner. This additional stage is called hoovering. And yes, just like the vacuum brand, they will insist that they've changed their ways or are making a sincere effort and will try to revert back to stage one of love bombing. But because it is agenda driven and not genuine, it will only create a repeated cycle of what we can see as abuse. Now, if seeing these stages of love bombing and the danger that it presents, how can you avoid being sucked into this abusive cycle? Well, for one, know the difference between love bombing and genuine love. For example, genuine love respects boundaries, while love bombing completely ignores them. You see, love bombers are not interested in respecting your boundaries. They may hear what those boundaries are and may even verbally agree to them, but they're ultimately not going to adhere to them because boundaries limits their ability to have complete access to your life, especially if they have a specific agenda. If a person or a group is unable to take no for an answer and are constantly trying to push themselves onto you with their supposed gestures of love, even after you have addressed your desire for space or to simply be left alone, that is an indication that you are dealing with love bombing and not genuine love. For the religious cults and highly controlling church groups, personal boundaries are viewed to them as mere walls that stand in the way of converting you into their fold and thus needs to be broken down through love bombing. But this, however, is highly problematic, especially within Christianity, because the person being love bombed is not receiving genuine love from these groups, only a false expression of it so that group recruitment can be achieved. Any expression you receive from anyone or any group should be completely genuine and should be respectful of your boundaries. A church community who genuinely and truly loves you will also not have a problem with your boundaries and will not try to use tactics of love bombing to tear them down, because they understand that the ultimate goal is for you to experience the greatest and most genuine love of all, which is the love of Christ. God's expressions of love is not manipulative or controlling, and therefore the church's expressions of love shouldn't be either. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 22 says, "Seeing ye have purified your hearts in obeying the truth through the Spirit unto unfeigned love of the brethren, see that ye love one another with a pure heart fervently." Another thing is to pay attention to the frequency of communication. You can know when you're being love bombed when you are receiving an excessive amount of attention, especially in the very beginning of a relationship. Yes, it may sound and feel wonderful, but such attention is not something that is normal or sustainable behavior. Love bombing is temporary and fast, and it is only designed to give off a big explosion of upfront affection and interest in hopes that by the time this big explosion of interest and affection is finished, that you will have made a commitment to them. Genuine love, however, doesn't operate like that. Genuine love is patient, steady, and it is designed to last for a lifetime if both parties are committed. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 3 says, "Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart, so that you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man." 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 4 starts off by saying that love is patient. Another way to avoid being love bombed is to simply watch and evaluate. Whether it is with someone or a group such as a church community, just because you get showered with affection and attention doesn't mean you need to make an immediate commitment to them. Yes, you may have a desire to establish a relationship, and yes, you may want to connect, but sometimes you have to be a bit skeptical and apply that advice that some things are just too good to be true. Contrary to popular opinion, a smiling face, Mr. Moon, is not the best representation of love. You're going to need more than a smiling face to demonstrate that. You're going to need time to evaluate one's actions. Let me watch and see if that smile is authentic or just a facade. Is this just for the moment? Or is it really your MO? If all that affection and all that interest quickly fades away due to your hesitation to commit to them, or even after you commit, you will know that that was all just a way to just reel you in. And then lastly, get another perspective from a third party. Get another pair of eyes from someone else who you can talk to about who you are getting connected with and who you know will be objective. That person can be a friend, it can be a family member, it can be a therapist, or better yet, it can be the Holy Spirit. I mean, the Bible did say that the Holy Spirit will lead and guide us to all truth. And so maybe spending a little bit more time in prayer may open up your eyes to see whether or not you are connecting yourself with the right people. Now, if you are watching this video and you have been love bombed and you are needing recovery from it due to the unhealthy environment it has placed you in and due to some unhealthy consequences you've received, a good piece of advice is to disconnect yourself from those who have or who are love bombing you. The reason for this is because maintaining connections with a love bomber, even after being discarded, can lead to a recycling of those stages of love bombing. Thinking or expecting those who love bomb to change is only a dream, as their goal is not to give you true love. They're using an appearance of love in order to gain access into your life and to control you. And so, as tough as it may be, keeping in contact with a love bomber is really an unwise decision to make. But what if they keep making uninvited visits to my home or work? Well, under those circumstances, that would be considered harassment, and law enforcement and a restraining order may need to go into effect. Love bombers are manipulators and narcissists, and they tend to think that no is a challenge and will pursue you even harder unless you draw the line at some point. Another good piece of advice is to not allow that love bombing experience to distort your understanding of real love and your desire to experience that real love. What you were introduced to was actually not love at all. It was really just manipulation disguised as love. And yes, it was an unfortunate moment in your life where you were vulnerable, but it doesn't mean that real love from a person or a group isn't out there waiting for you to experience. Try to take time to learn from what you went through and use what you've learned the next time you decide to engage in building a relationship with someone or a group again. Know yourself and stick to your personal boundaries. Pay attention to communication. Allow time to elapse. Have an external support system and never feel obligated to commit instantly. And then the last advice to give is to spend time healing and recovering with Christ. There is no one better who knows how to mend broken hearts other than our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Psalm chapter 147 and verse 3 says, "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 1 says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound." As you turn to Him in prayer and supplication regarding your condition, and as you meditate on His demonstration of love on the cross and His demonstration of love towards you, you can receive a refreshing of the mind, the body, and the spirit, and be free to move forward in your life, leaving your experience of being love bombed in the past. And in closing, here are a few books to consider that speaks on the subject of love bombing that may be of benefit to you. The first one is Love Bombing: How to Detect, Handle, and Protect Yourself from Their Toxic Affection by Mike Smith. And the second is Narcissist Love Bombing: How Narcissists Hook Their Target and How to Protect Yourself from Their Love Bomb by Emily Walker. Well, that's it. If you like the content, please like, share this video. If you have some understanding or knowledge about love bombing that I haven't presented, or if you yourself have experienced love bombing, please do leave some comments below. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to speed when I drop a new video. And of course, as always, as you go back to study the word, just remember to remind yourself that as I'm studying the word, I got to make sure I keep everything in context.